Hey guys, welcome to your Fridays in Max Salur. In our Max Salur week, we're very excited today. I'm Dr. Myrdalis Diaz Ramirez. We have some awesome guests today. We have Dr. Hala Sabry. Hello, how are you?
Hi. Thanks for having me.
And we're waiting for Dr. Sunny Smith. She's actually in Puerto Rico, where it's
Mhm.
very common not to have electricity, and she might be transmitting from the car. We don't know yet, so that's going to be a surprise. Before we go on, I want to remind you of all the things that we've done today. We've been talking, actually, this week on Mondays, we introduced the topic of the week. And the topic of the week was actually brought by Dr. Sabry. It was Dr. Sonny Smith's podcast, but it was Believing in Beliefs. So I had just
Oh,
recorded with Hala
how
Sabry.
fun.
Yeah, and then you talked about believing in beliefs and how Sonny really is one of the of the physicians that you met, of the leaders you've met, who really
hmm
makes you believe in beliefs. So we said, you know what, we're just going to go with it. And that was our topic of the week. And then on Tuesday, she was on our podcast. There she is. Let me get her in. We're going to add her. Coming live from Puerto Rico.
Hi. Oh my gosh, it's
Yeah, we're going to have some difficulties here. Yeah. But
uh-oh.
yes.
So
Hello.
sorry. Hi. Sorry if my internet's bad. My power just went out. If I hang
Uh,
up,
Oh
that's
no.
why.
yeah, that's what we were saying. That in Puerto Rico, it's very common to have the power outages, and
Exactly.
then yes. So I said, well, she might be going to the car, right, and transmit from the car with him.
Oh, well, so I mean, this is totally random. But I just went to the car so that I could back the car out because I have to go get my kids soon too. And the garage door won't open.
Oh,
So I'm like
no.
trapped.
So
I
we're
know
not going to
trapped,
transmit
and
for
there's
the
no
car.
Uber. So this is an invitation as a coach to be like, okay, to be a problem solver, to be an innovator, to be a challenge resolver. So we're gonna have to figure out what to do here. But in
Well,
the meanwhile,
don't.
I get to come spend a short period of time with you guys before I go address those challenges.
Well, it is what it is, right? The show must go on, and you're doing good because right now you're gifting us with that view
Yeah,
of.
exactly.
There you go. See, can you see?
Yeah,
Can you see
that's
Vieques
all.
from there? Let's
So
see. Let's see in
Yeah,
the
beautiful.
Vieques
background. Yeah, show
is
us Vieques.
over there. It's I don't know if you can see,
Oh,
but
there's
it's
some clouds
over
today.
there. Yes,
Yeah.
Vieques is right there. Yes.
Yeah.
I
So,
highly
guys, I'm from
recommend
Puerto
Vieques in
Rico,
the
and she's
Bio
from
Bay.
Puerto Rico.
It's like it's magical. The bioluminescent bay, right? It's the brightest, most brilliant bioluminescent bay on the planet, and so it's right over there. So anybody who comes, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, it's fun because you go on these. They're plastic and they're transparent. The kayaks, and then as you're going, it's like you're flying over the stars or inside. It's like
Yeah,
so pretty.
it's
It's amazing.
amazing. It's amazing. Hala, you have to come one day, for real.
Yeah.
I know. I know. I want to.
Yeah, no, the kids would love it. And then you see
They
like the
do.
fish
Kids
at
love it.
night or the crabs, they're just covered by the lights of the bioluminescence. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hello everybody in Facebook. As I was saying, like let's do a little bit of reintroduction now that Sonny has joined us very quickly, just in case it goes away from the poor signal. But I was telling Hala that this week, our topic of the week in Maxillary Mastermind, we do like every week we have a topic, and this topic was introduced by her. She didn't know it was believing
Mm.
in beliefs, which was your
Mm.
podcast. And then because you guys, besides being awesome physicians and coaches and everything, you're great friends. And one of the things that she's learned from you, which she shared with us, is that you've been one of the most inspiring people to her in terms of believing your beliefs. And that's what we talked about. And that's what this week has been about in our Max Seller week. So I just want to open it. Just let's start with that right there. And I want to see why, Hala, you said that, why, and what that means to you, especially in the context of being a physician who sees so many people who are overwhelmed. In burnout in medicine, and this increasing, especially after the pandemic, especially in women, and as professionals, what that means to you, and what that means in the sense of having somebody that you're able to look up to, and say that she's this person about that inspires you believing in beliefs.
Yeah. Well, I think that, all of us, I mean, anybody who's listening to this, obviously you got to where you're at in your career, whether you're a physician or another profession, because you believed that you could, right? And it's a belief that you can accomplish that goal. And so when we have that belief that we could do that, you're going to find every way. Just like Sunny has this belief that she's going to get the car out of the garage, she's going to go pick up her son. She has this belief that it's just going to work out, and they'll find, tons of different options to figure that out. But here's the thing: sometimes we can lose our belief, and sometimes our spirit gets broken a little bit, and that could be from seeing patterns that for women at least, it's discrimination, it's bias, it's the patriarchy, right? And so then we start to believe, right, that sometimes we can't overcome some of these barriers, and we stop asking ourselves and stop being curious as to how can I overcome these barriers, or how can I make it less of a barrier for the next generation that's following me, right? And so sometimes it's like raising that white flag. You're like, well, I guess I can't do anything about it, and so I'm going to just stay the same, right? And then people suffer. And I know that I think actually Sunny and I, we bonded. Our first conversation was talking about how we were both suffering at work because we weren't living our truth. And Sunny and I are very different. We have a lot of overlapping, qualities that are the same.
I can tell a difference. I can tell a
Yeah.
difference. Yeah. There's somebody who likes makeup and there's somebody who doesn't care for makeup. I know that.
I'm not with makeup. I don't know what's happening right now. But yeah, I do think though that, like for me, I was looking into innovation. Like I love medicine and I still practice medicine, but I wanted something more innovative. And I had done things in my career. The things that I was most proud of were all of the innovations and the way that I can problem solve and create solutions for problems. And that was beyond the bedside, and it was really helping patients, it was helping doctors, it was helping women, right? And so I wanted to do more of that, and my pain point was I didn't have the belief that how I could do it. I didn't understand how I could solve this big problem. And I think Sunny, when we were talking, she had these beliefs of the impact that she wanted to have, based off of her foundation of helping so many patients and medical students and mentoring so many people in an academic setting. And so I remember our first conversation was really talking about how we're not burnt out. We just wanted to burst at the seams with more value and more impact for people, but neither one of us knew how. And it's just so funny that now we're having this conversation. It's like, what, 5 years later that we're doing it, we're doing the work, right? And so I'll give it over to Sunny and see what she has to add to that. But I just think it's a beautiful love story,
Oh my God, it is! Oh, I love that you say that. We have this beautiful love story that starts in a hot tub. Well, first it starts in Vegas at a conference that she doesn't even remember. And that she remembers being at the conference,
Vegas,
she doesn't
hot
remember talking to
tub.
me.
That's
And then we went to a hot tub. Sylvester Stallone's old house. We have a hilarious love story. And if I'm breaking up too much, I apologize. We can cut me off if so. But yeah, I think it's so interesting because we never really talk like that we're like, we both wanted to do more and impact more, and we just, there's the thing is you don't know the how. You're like, this is my why, this is what drives me, this is where I'm going. I have no idea how. Just like, honest to goodness, it's so funny because people think coaching is woo woo or like that says go pick up your kid. That's why my scene went out right now. But I have this belief, like my why is so strong because there's no way I'm gonna let that kid not get picked up. He's gonna freak if I don't show up. And so I utilize my coaching skills all the time in my life, all these little areas, right? That I'm like, I'm going to find a way. And I'm going to try. I already pulled the thing off the garage to see if I can move it. I can't move it. It's heavy. So I'm going to keep trying all these things in there. And then I'll go to this neighbor and that neighbor. And, what am I going to do? I'm going to find a way. And because there's no alternative, right? There just isn't an alternative than getting some human to pick up my child. And so when have these big beliefs, like Paula's like, I want to have more impact. She is uniquely positioned to change the world, in my opinion, right? Like in many opinions, but she is one of the most recognizable female physicians on the planet at this moment in time. And so if you have whatever you have as your foundation, all of us physicians have a very strong foundation, and that is part of her foundation. And so whatever she's going to do next, she can't possibly know how she's going to do it until she's done it, right? But she can know why she wants to do it, and everything starts in the mind before it becomes real in real life. Everything does.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for the
I mean,
inspiration.
except for maybe
That's
hurricanes and
true.
stuff like that,
Yeah.
like forces of nature. But all things that are man or human made, everything human made starts in the mind first. And so, like, even my little doggy, here's my little doggy. Like, my little boy, I've told Hala many times, it's like my little boy is like the epitome of he believed he could, so he did. Because he wanted that dog, and he would not let up until he got that dog. And so eventually, like, it started in his mind, and we courted the idea. You're like dating your idea. Well, what do you think? Is this possible? Let's go out. Let's go to lunch. Let's go to dinner. Want to have a sleepover? And then eventually you're like, I kind of like this idea. We're really going to make this happen. Like, let's move in together. And so I just think the idea of the beliefs that come to you, they sort of come to you like you can read Liz Gilbert's Big Magic. Like, they come to you for a reason. You know, these ideas, these dreams, these crazy things. Like, moving to Puerto Rico came to me, right? That's crazy. So many people said I was supposed to come here for a mastermind. I couldn't even get my husband to actually come to the mastermind or come to travel here with me. And then but like, you know, eventually he agreed to come for spring break. And he was like, this is how it starts. This is what he literally said. Paula knows my husband pretty well, so she knows he's a skeptic. And so he was like, there's like 1% chance we're doing this, maybe 2. I'm like, all right, that's good. It's not 0.
Yeah, 2 is better than 0.
So there's an
Exactly.
idea, there's inception,
Exactly.
there's manifestation, there's getting the
And then
knowledge, and then
action.
boom, doing it.
Take action. Yeah, and you have to be willing to fail. Just like I already pulled the string on the garage. I tried something. I didn't sit there and think about it. I had to try something to know if that garage was going to open. And damn it, it didn't. But that's okay, because now I know that's one way that doesn't work, right? And so whatever my dreams have been, it's, well, let's find out what works and what doesn't work and embrace both of them, because both of them are equally important. And so, I mean, this is ancient knowledge, right? This is not something that we made up. This is not something that coaches made up. Like, you can find it in the Bible, you can find it in Buddhism, you can find it in every religion. It's just learning to remind ourselves of what we've always known, and to have the courage to really take action and to not care what other people think, because not everyone's going to believe what you believe. And that's okay.
In fact, it's easier to not believe what somebody else believes, right? Because we all have our, what they call limiting beliefs, right? And that's really a mindset that all of us share to protect ourselves from what we think is danger, right? So, for example, when I was not one of the people who told Sunny not to move to Puerto Rico, I was like, oh, that's so cool, I want to come visit. But yeah, I mean, I think, I remember having conversations with you, and she's like, people think I'm crazy. They're like, well, how are you going to do this? How are you going to enroll Jake in a program, in a school? How are you going to get back to the mainland if you have a problem with, your brother? Her brother, has had medical problems. There was a lot of like the what ifs, right? Because it's easy to let the what ifs stop you from doing anything audacious or big, or even make any change in your life, And she's like, well, there's planes, right? Like, the flight is this many hours, and this is what I could do, right? And that's with any business idea. I mean, I was on coaching calls all morning with clients, and they're like, I really want to do this. And I say, well, why don't you? And then they just start listing all of these thoughts that are just thoughts, right? It's just like, well, I might lose money. Well, is that true? Will you lose money, right? Do you have to do it in the way that you're thinking? Or like, how could you protect your money while you do this? And is losing money sometimes okay, right? Like, and it's just really, really developing these questions around it. And I think that the one way that I think coaching is like, that's the best way. If you have not experienced coaching with any coach, I think the best way is almost like you're sitting with somebody who's going to question every thought that you have, almost like my children question me. Like, we can't go out. Like, last night, I did not, my child wanted to go buy pizza from Mod Pizza. Okay, I had no interest. We have so much food here, right? And I was like, no, I don't want to, because it's raining outside. And she's like, well, we could just use an umbrella. And I was like, no, but I think that they might be closed. Well, why don't you just call and find out? Right? Like, just it was almost like she was coaching. I was like, look, I just want to say no, right? Like, I'm just committed to this thought, right? Like, I want to say no. I don't want to go out. But I almost feel like kids are natural coaches. They don't realize, because they just keep asking very curious questions. But we lose that. We lose that curiosity. We become jaded. We become, rigid in our thoughts, rigid in our routines. And then anything that seems outside of that seems crazy, like moving to Puerto Rico, or building the largest support network for women physicians that exists in the world, right? Or whatever it may be, right? Or now I'm consulting only for companies that I have equity in. That sounds crazy. And in fact, I was on a call with a company and I said, well, I only do consultation for companies that I own equity in. And they're like, and the guy, the CEO said, how does that work? Like, that really works for you? And I said, yeah. And guess what? Now they're drafting a proposal. Like, so like, it is so fun. It is so fun to challenge the norm, right? But we know how crappy the norm can feel. So why stay in that space,
Yeah,
That's
and I think that
awesome.
belief that's a great, I'm sorry I'm interrupting, but that is just such a great example. It's like, you set the rule. You
Yeah.
set the rule, you make up the rules. All the rules are made up. And when you know that about the world, you're like, oh my gosh, everything is made up. Like the fact that Monday and through Friday aren't like forces of nature. Like the dog doesn't know that it's Saturday. So it's like everything is made up. And so every single person watching this can decide that they only consult for companies that they have equity in. Like that's just their policy. And then you just stop wasting your time with any companies who won't entertain that. You just tell them that. Here's my minimum terms. Is it still worthwhile getting on a call? Okay. And then it's like, you're owning your authority in the world, and then people start treating you that way. So I think, again, I think the belief is everything. Once you believe it and own it, then the world starts accommodating, because it has to.
That's what we say is we're designing our physician lives and professional lives. One thing that to move on a little bit is when we had Hala, when we had you at the podcast, one of the things that you say that you're coaching people, not only physicians now, but women who are in these positions and they're finding these challenges. Right now we're believing beliefs, but many times they kind of feel alone at the top, right? And there's some other series of challenges. So tell us a little bit about those challenges that you're seeing in these women that you're now coaching for these particular companies that you're part of, right?
Yeah. Well, my coaching for companies, my consultation for companies is a little different than my coaching. So the consultation for companies is I really help them create an audience. I help them create a community around their products. That's a little bit different than my coaching business. And that's based off of a lot of the success I've had in creating community and teaching others how to do it. Now, as far as coaching goes, there's a lot of successful women. I only coach women. There's a lot of successful people though in this world. And I remember distinctly, I was at a meeting with an executive of a very large company. And I remember him asking me like how I was doing and what resources I needed. And I was like looking for an authority figure, right? Because I've always had an authority figure, right? There was always, a teacher, a professor, a CEO of a company, right? Like an attending, right? And so I was like, gosh, and I remember going, I just need a mentor. I just need a business incubator. Like I had learned that word and then I decided I needed one, not really understanding what that meant, and I was like, I need all these things, right? And he was like, well, who's going to mentor you? And I'm like, what do you mean? There's got to be someone with more experience. And he goes, no, you literally are the leading person in this field. And I was like, oh crap, now what? Right. And so I did eventually find a mentor, and I love introducing her to people because I think she's so amazing. And who she is she's me in 5 years. Me in 5 years knows exactly what I need to do now to get to where I want to be. I don't need to look at outside authority, right? Although I can use my network of successful people to help my future self get to where I am, right? And so it's just a different way of looking at mentorship, but it's really coaching myself to where it is, to where I want to be. And I think that's why it's so beautiful. But I think that process, what people don't talk about is, and I never used to talk about this either, it's freaking lonely. It's lonely to be in a position of authority. Like when you're making all the shots and you're calling all the shots and you're so accomplished and you're in this like role that most people are not in, like being a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, a woman in tech. Like these spaces like are heavily dominated by men. And even if you took the number of men and women in those spaces, they represent such a small percentage of people when you look at the greater population. right? So you're just getting into the smaller space, right? And it could be really lonely. And I didn't realize how much I was suffering from loneliness, right? And it's not, I mean, of course I have friends, you guys, I have friends, but it's a different when
It's a
you're
different
going,
loneliness. It's like you're
it's
making
a
these
different,
decisions and then
yeah,
people are looking up to you. And it's like, and then who, like, sometimes like to have that support, like who do I look up to? Or, is there
yeah,
somebody having my back? Like, what's going to happen when I make this
yeah.
decision? It's like, and there's no other, as they say, expert in this area to do
Right.
that.
And so even though Sunny and I have a lot of similarities, we're very, very different. Our paths are very different. What we coach on is slightly different, although there's a big overlap. But that's why I love having friends like Sunny, and so many others in this space, and that's why masterminds like what you run is so important, because you're going through this experience together with other people that have similar situations, although not exactly the same, right? And that's why I think masterminds are so important. So if you guys haven't checked out the Maxillary Mastermind, I think it is a beautiful, beautiful container for growth, especially if you're feeling lonely, right? If you're feeling scared and lonely, like those feelings will not move you forward, right? If you can have all the belief in the world, but if you are lonely and you are scared to do things on your own, honestly, it can paralyze you, right? And I think loneliness is a really common feeling for really successful people. I mean, it's common for people at large, but really successful people, they're lonely and they feel like they really can't expose themselves to people without that much success, because it's almost like you get the must be
You're
nice.
expressing your vulnerabilities, and then it's like,
Yeah.
okay, you know what, and then you have people judging you for other things that are not related to your loneliness,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, and I mean, and I know they mean it from a nice place, right? Like they're not trying to be facetious, but
Hmm.
like when you're already feeling vulnerable and alone, it can sometimes make you feel more vulnerable and more alone, right? And then it's like the confidence factor too. Like, to get to where I'm at, to get to where Sunny's at, to get to where you're at, there's a lot of confidence that had to be put in to get to that spot. But man, failure when you're this high up, sorry, my camera, when you're this high up, failure falling all the way down seems like a really hard fall, and there's a lot of fear, right? And so you have this confidence, right, that you took to get up to that height, but then to maintain the confidence that when you're up there, it's a lot of work. And I always say, like, I felt like when I got to that high top part, like that I should be able to relax, to like breathe and not worry about anything, but it just became more like that we had to have more confidence. And and then lastly, it's like
But that's
resentment,
part
like,
that's part of growth, right? Like that's like you getting
yeah,
to the next level. Like when you're even in high school, going from 10th to 11th grade, I'm living that
yeah,
with my children. That 11th grade can be like, oh my goodness, what's this? And we live that year through year, first year, second year,
yeah,
medical
yeah.
student, resident, all
Because
this
you're
stuff.
an upperclassman now, right? So
Yeah,
you're a little bit more senior than
exactly.
these like lower
Yeah.
classmen, right? And then they're
And
looking
the
up to
first year
you,
when you
and
go to an attending, like, oh my goodness,
yeah,
that's lonely, like that
yeah,
first year, like all these things. So each level gets you up there, and those emotions are still there. And if you have a lack of education about limiting beliefs and all these things that can pull you down, then you're not going to be able to successfully pass to the next level. And
yeah,
then you can have the loneliness, which is worse, and especially if you don't get help, because then you're at the top, so you shouldn't get help, right?
yeah.
Because you should know everything, but you did well. And then you were going to mention another thing right now.
Yeah. And I think when you're feeling so crappy because you're lonely and you're struggling with confidence, right? Then all of a sudden resentment likes to go in the carpool lane with the other two, right? Resentment's like, gosh, why the hell did I do all this? If I'm not feeling so great, right? Why the heck did I, sacrifice all that time with my kids? Sacrifice that time when I could have been traveling, sacrifice that time with my parents before they got sick, right? There's all these things that we resent for the sacrifices we made to protect our career and our success and our income that comes with it. And so I think that triad, that trilogy of loneliness and confidence and resentment, I think that's like really the Achilles heel for successful people. I really, really do think so. And so part of what I have done, over my career, and I told you this in the podcast, is the reason why I decided to become a physician is to really advocate for doctors, because I saw my dad really burnt out, and I liked medicine, but I liked helping, doctors more so they could practice more medicine.
Guys, if you
But I
haven't listened to that story, that's a really weird story. When she's like saying why she's going to be a doctor. And when she, don't say it here, tell them to go to the
Oh,
podcast to
I
listen.
will.
At your
Yeah.
interview in medical school, that was like awesome.
Yeah, if you want to know maybe what to say or maybe what not to say when you're in your medical school interviews, like listen to my podcast. It is hilarious. I was very honest. So, but
Yes.
here I am living my dream and really supporting successful people. Because successful people need resources too. And although you would think that there's so many resources, the resources don't usually speak to them, although they can afford them. And that's different. Having access to resources and having resources that are relevant to where you're at is different. And so I think a lot of the painful parts of my journey were trying to look for containers of like-minded people, like what I am creating for the people who I'm coaching, and what you are creating for the people you're coaching, and Sunny as well. And so, and I think it's beautiful that the three of us can sit here on a live stream and just love on each other. And because there's more than enough successful people to go around, it's a very abundant mindset, right? And this is all a collaboration between the three of us to move forward and to really just make as much impact as we can in the world.
Yeah, we're very happy. Sunny's not here right now. Whoever's right now coming in because she has some challenges at home with no electricity
Mm-hmm.
and having a car that was blocked and having to pick her child and all that stuff. But she's been here earlier. You're gonna see the replay if you want to see that later. You can see her contribution. But it's been very it's been amazing because one of the things that when you created Hala, and we talked about this, you created your group was at a different level when people were looking for a certain level of answers,
Mm-hmm.
and that's like almost like an entry point, and that's how we all felt when we came to Physicians Moms group at the beginning of you making that group, like connection. And we all were, even though we're with friends and everything, you can see that how lonely we were. And then
Mm-hmm.
that group brought us together, brings support, and then from there, then as you say, as we had discussed, like you get to the next level, right? So now you have the PMG for this
Mm-hmm.
level of support, and then for people who are interested in getting that extra level of coaching, then we go to the next level. How has it been for you having that transition? Like from that person who created PMG now to being able to get to this level. Now you have identified a coach, right? And now you look back to Hala. I don't know how many years ago was it that you created
Eight.
PMG? 8 years
Eight.
ago already. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
goodness! So 8 years ago that PMG was created. So you say you have a coach who's Hala in 5 years. So now
Mm-hmm.
that you're that coach who was Hala, like from 8 years ago, how has that transition been for you?
It's interesting. I mean, I think my only regret is not starting sooner, not starting this sooner, and living in overwhelm and confusion, and how am I going to do this? And it's not possible, and all these things. And even I think as women too, the things that we tell ourselves to keep ourselves in this position of wherever you're at is like, I should just be so grateful, right? I should be so grateful that, I have the life I have. I have everything I need and I don't need anything more, right? Or, gosh, I'm so lucky, right? These are not helpful thoughts, you guys. These are thoughts that are developed by the patriarchy to keep you not more successful, right? And here's the thing. The other thing too is that you don't have to keep pushing yourself. If you've created all that you want to create and you want to coast, like be happy and do that. That wasn't where I was. But I support every woman that wants to do that. But my transition has been really interesting because, it's interesting because it's like it was a little bit rocky because I was always looking for someone more accomplished than me or smarter than me or whatever, had their stuff together more than me to show me the right way, not realizing that really it's just me, it's myself in 5 years. And I think that the biggest surprise is seeing people's reaction to my growth. Of course there's tons of people who are so excited about my growth, and obviously they take full advantage of it, right? I mean, they're reading my posts, they're on my email list, they may have signed up for coaching, right? And they see how I show up in Facebook groups now, like the way that my responses are, they're a lot different than they were before. So yeah, it's been fun. And then there's some people who don't like it, and it's so interesting. It's so interesting to watch, people going, not liking that I'm growing past my norm. But it's funny because really uncomfortable with that, with people judging me or not liking what I was doing because it was new to them. But at the same time, when I created PMG 8 years ago, there was people who didn't like it back then either, right? And I just forgot that. I just got used to tuning out the people that had their own negative thoughts, or they're living in their own models of thought beliefs, that have nothing to do with me. In fact, when people are so vocal and they don't like something that you're doing, I often wonder, instead of taking it personally, I often wonder, like, what do they not like about themselves? What do they like that they're not accomplishing, that they're projecting onto me? And how can I help them? Because obviously they're coming from a place of pain. Because, here's the thing. The difference right now between a Hala today and a Hala 5 years ago, okay, is this. Say I see someone doing something amazing, okay? 5 years ago, I would tear that person apart. Oh my God, I can't believe that she's doing that. Why was she doing that? How is she doing that? Oh my gosh, I can't do that because I'm not as beautiful, or I'm not as blah, 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 right? My Hala now is, oh my God, that is so cool that she's doing that.
If she can, I can too, right?
Yeah, if she can do it, I can do it too. Yeah. Or do I want to support her by purchasing whatever she has, or joining her group, or whatever it is that she has, right? But I can distinctly remember there was a girl, okay, and I'm not proud of this story, but I'm going to tell it because it's the truth. There was a girl, and she had a business, and it was very much doing what I was doing, okay, but I was doing it for free and not getting paid for it. And she was not doing it for free, and she was getting paid a lot of money for it. And I was so mad at her, but it had nothing to do with her. I was mad at myself, right? But I was so mad at her. Like, how could she do this? She should be doing it for free because I'm doing it for free. And
it's called what projection, kind of right? It's called projection, like you're projecting.
It is. It is a lot of projection. And right. And like, how much am I really supporting women if I just want to, I want to pull her down? Right? Because I'm not happy where I'm at. So I want her to be where I am at. Like, that's really not good. Right? And a lot of that comparison, what we call in coaching world, compare and despair, right? Looking at what somebody else has and beating yourself up why they shouldn't have it, or why you should have it and you don't have it, And I think it's a really interesting growth, because now I don't do that. Even to that girl, she still exists and she still has an amazing business, but now I can have a lot more appreciation for her. And if anything, she showed me it was possible to branch out and do something, even though I'm doing something completely different than what she's doing. She showed me it's possible, that you don't have to be this martyr and work for free all the time, because I think that that's also a very patriarchal, mindset, right? Like, you should be doing this for free. You should be blah, blah, blah. But here's the thing, at some point, like, if you have a service, if you have a value, right? Like, there's only so much you could do for free, right? And I do a lot of stuff for free.
And it's not only patriarchal, like it comes, it might come from patriarchal, but as a physician, like, you want to give, right? Mm-hmm. So then there's that medicine mindset. I was talking about that in an upcoming podcast, and it's the medicine mindset. Like, you have to have your medicine mindset when you're taking care of patients, but you also have, when we're talking about these positions, we're talking more about entrepreneurial positions, or even in leadership, when you're taking others, for those things to survive, you have to charge, you have to have a business plan, you have to have, design it and make it happen. So it's like, we want to give everything because we're physicians on one side, and then we want to really be the business person. To be the business person, you have to understand how those two things match.
Yeah. And statistics show worldwide that when women have money in their pockets, they give 90% back to their family and their community, right? And it's so funny because, like, even if you think about what I'm doing with my coaching business, like, I read that stat after I created my business plan and stuff like that. But my business plan is to create a community of women from all industries that is a coaching community, okay? Which is basically, yes, you come for answers, but you've done half of the work. We're meeting you halfway, right? It's not a typical support group where it's just like, I need the solution to the problem, and then people give the solution and there's no thought process there, right? Which is definitely needed. Support groups are definitely needed, and they're very extremely valuable, right? And this is why I support a support group, right? I actually created one and I still maintain it, right? A coaching group is a little bit different, right? It's really helping you find the right solution for you. Nobody has the right answer, only you have the right answer. So it's really helping you find that right answer. But it's funny because the first thing I thought about is, how do I make this accessible to people who don't have the money for coaching? And so guess what? I developed a plan, right? So right now I offer 4 months of free coaching throughout the year. If you join my private Facebook group, it's open 4 months of the year between my sessions, and you get coaching. You get group coaching. I give it all to you. Like, it's no problem. I have no problem doing it. And it's so awesome. They get a quarter a year of free coaching. That's one point. The other thing I'm doing is I'm collecting data on all of my clients to be able to apply for federal grants. I'm a woman-owned business that's recognized in the United States. I want to apply for grants to be able to help diversify the 1% women's world. So right now, the 1% women, you know, they may be a different demographic of people who have a little bit more privilege growing up, may not be representing, you know, at the right, I guess, percentages of women
Distribution of
that
the
are
population.
BIPOC, LGBTQ, women with disabilities, just to name a few, immigrant women, right? And I think that it is really important to, if we really want, if my whole, you know, goal in life is to achieve what equity for women, right? I really have to think of all women, not just the women that are in my circle, right? And so for me, I'm like, okay, well, how can I create more 1% women earners? And so in the future, what I want to do is collect all this data from my clients and apply for these grants to be able to have a separate program for women who are not yet six-figure earners, to help them become six-figure earners. Because the more six-figure earning women we have, right, the data shows that the world will be a better place. Right, 90%, they will give 90% back to their family and their community, not because they have to, but that's just the nature of women. Women become more charitable when they have more money, in general. So for me, this is my vision. This is my life's work. This is what I'm going to spend the next decade and more on. You know, and it's so awesome. But there's some people that are like, how are you going to do that? You know, and it's just so fun to be like, I don't know, but sit back and watch, right? This is what I'm going to be doing. And I love that I'm going to be able to do it in such a transparent way, not this whole fake it till you make it. What I was doing with PMG, there was a lot of fake it till you make it, fake it till you believe it, right? To get to where I'm at now, 8 years later. But now to start fresh and be like, hey, like, we're all 1% earners. We all want this world to be a better place. This is how we're going to do it. And so it's definitely a different community. And it's so funny because a lot of my business coaches have asked me, like, why don't you just make PMG that 1% women's club? And I'm like, you don't just change communities. That's not what it works out. And really the level of
They're
support
different depending on who you
and
add
it's
and who
very
you could
different.
take out. It's completely then their goals are different.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be talking about a bunch of things that you took on PMG in this group.
Yeah.
And it has to be a volunteer thing. It has to be a volunteer thing.
And, you know, the number one rule of coaching or of practicing medicine or of any field that you're in is that the person has to consent to want that service, right? Yep. So this is why it's a whole different space. And those are a lot of the questions I've gotten. And so it's so fun to watch Hala from 5 years ago, Hala now, and really look at the Hala in 5 years going, hey, listen, people just haven't caught on with your brilliant plan. Don't worry about it. The people who are early adopters are, and they're going to be in for a ride, you know?
So
and
can we make a prediction?
Awesome.
Can we make a prediction here? Like it's 10/28/2022.
Yeah.
What do you think? You know, like we're gonna like see you in 10/28/2027.
Yeah.
What do you think Hala is gonna be telling us?
I think I will have grown my 1% Women's Club. It's going to be a full-blown year-long program that's going to be full of helping successful women stay successful to increase wealth. I'm going to have a lot of financial literacy in that group and bringing in female VC companies, female-owned VC companies, venture capitalist companies to teach us how to invest our money to make it grow. I'm going to be doing all of that. And I think at that point in 5 years, maybe I'll start looking at international, like really, really expanding internationally in different languages. I
know Spanish, so I'll take that one. Don't worry.
Yes, we'll do Spanish. And I mean, I'm telling you, like, I want this to be, if I really want to be inclusive, right, I really have to think bigger, right? And so I really want there to be international, you know, branches of the 1% Women Club and really help those women become 1%, you know? And so I think it's going to be really, really fun. I have a really small team right now that I'm working with, and they're all on board with it. And it's just been really fun to geek out on our meetings and to build. And one of my biggest values that I lead with is innovation. So I think as long as I'm innovating in this space, I know that I'm on the right path, and I'm still advocating for women. I'm still advocating for doctors. I'm still advocating for leaders. Um, and I think great things will come from, keeping successful people successful.
Well, Hala's team and my team, 10/28/2027, we have a meeting. So put it there on our calendars. We're going to see how that happened. For those of you who are men, don't worry, because if you want to see Hala and have her as a coach, you can always come to our mastermind. It's our
Yes.
mastermind. And we're starting one next year in January. So just, write to us, tell us, and then we're going to be able to have you also interact with Hala, because Hala has this passion about women right now, but she has been such a great force in our mastermind with men and everybody who participates. Thank you
Yes.
for being here. Before we go, let's tell people how they can join this group, the 4 months, and how they can find you online.
And I do want to make a mention really quickly that this is not an either or. When you're watching people that are coming on this podcast or these live streams, these are all just options, right? And this is not an either or. Like, I am in masterminds and I have multiple coaches. This is just like getting all the support that you need to move forward, and different containers will be right for different parts of your problem or your life. So I think that even if you are a woman, right, check out the Max Allure mastermind. It is a very different container than what I do. And they're more complementary than they are, a substitute for one another. So I just want to make sure I mention that. But how to find more information about me, almost everything is on drhalasabry.com, HALASABRY. I have a free values finder that you can sign up for. That's where I started all of my work. Everything that you're hearing me say right now started from identifying my values. And there's that. And then if you want in on the 1% Women's Club, there's a little sign up to register for the next round, which starts next week. And if you want to maybe hold out for the next upcoming weeks, there's going to be a sign up to be on our email list. And if you're on our email list, you'll get those emails. I send coaching emails every week, so you will get value even if you're not my paid client. But I hope that I meet you one day, and whether that's as I guest coach in Max Allure or you're part of my program, and we'll go forward from there.
Well, thank you for being here. And thank you for Sunny Smith. If you want to find her, she's Empowering Women Physicians. She's a Facebook group if you want to join that. And if you want to know more about our mastermind, it's maxallure.com, maxallure.com. And don't forget to join us every Friday. We're going to try to have more guests who have been on our podcast. And these are wonderful people that you don't want to miss. Thanks a lot, Hala, for being here. Thanks a lot for your love, your knowledge, and your goals. Like, we know that
thank you for having me.
Talked about this, like the changes that you're making right now are going to be, our children and grandchildren are going to really be benefiting from them. So,
oh my God, it's going to be so fun. And I'm so
yes.
glad to be doing this work alongside you, and our late night texts, and
Oh
just
my
the love
goodness.
that we have for each other.
Yeah. Thank you very much. 10/28/2027.
I'll be here.
I'll see you then.
Okay,
Bye, guys.
Bye.